have always lived in Britain. I'm a British citizen, born, bred, educated here, married to an Indian, and have become a Hindu and absolutely love Hinduism and India.
Okay. And why are you here today specifically?
So I am here because as a British citizen, I believe in the right to human life. I believe in the right to people being able to practice their religion. I believe in people being able to have employment, to have education, regardless of what their faith is. In 1947, when India was carved into different bits to create Muslim countries, a promise was made by the Indian leaders, Nehru and Gandhi, that the Hindus and Sikhs who could not get to India would be kept safe, and if they ever felt unsafe, that they were always welcome to India. At the same time, in 1950, a pact was made between Nehru and the Pakistani Prime Minister, promising that the minorities in those countries, in those respective countries, would always be kept safe. Now, India has upheld that promise. The percentage of Muslims in India has increased from 8% to 13%, whereas Pakistan and later Bangladesh, they did not keep their promise. The percentage of minorities living in these Islamic states has reduced from 23% to 3%. Tens of millions of Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Parsis, Jains have been murdered, have been raped, have been abducted, and have fled out of fear. Now, some of those have managed to get to India. That's the good story here. And the CAA is relevant to them because the CAA 2019 allows or gives citizenship to these people who fled to India because they were being persecuted for their minority faiths in the Islamic states of Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan. And the CAA 2019 is actually the sixth and the latest amendment to the 1955 citizenship law in India. In 2015, these people were already granted or guaranteed that they would not be imprisoned or deported for being illegal immigrants. In 2018, they were already given the right to own property. So all the new Citizenship Act of 2019 does is give them full citizenship rights as Indian citizens. So they can stand proud and say, "Main Bharatiya hoon, main Bharatiya hoon." Hindu hate by Congress and the other opposition parties in India, and particularly from Pakistan actually, who are the driving force behind these opposition parties. So Pakistan are feeling very embarrassed, in fact humiliated, and are shell-shocked after the Balakot airstrikes, after Article 370, and after the constant pounding they are getting on the line of control, the LOC. So to make themselves feel good, to make themselves feel strong, they have to tell lies about India to blacken the name so that they feel better about themselves. And there's no better evidence for the role that Pakistan is having in this than the fact that there were houses bought up months in advance of the riots in Hindu areas with stones, piles of stones mounted on the roofs of these places, ready for just that moment where they could launch an attack. Here it was the announcement of the CAA. That was the moment when they decided, okay, we're going to make ourselves feel better by making India look really bad. So unless there was that coordination, that money pouring in to coordinate that whole supply chain to fuel and fund the riots, they would not have happened, as I said. So the first thing to make very clear is that CAA has no bearing on people who are already Indian citizens, be they Muslim or not. Nothing has changed for these people. Life carries on exactly as it was before. So secondly, as I said earlier, Muslim countries were created for Muslims in that region, Pakistan and later Bangladesh. And a promise was made by the Indian leaders that the Hindus and Sikhs would always be welcome into India. and whenever they were feeling fear from living in those Muslim countries. Now, as I said, Pakistan has not been living up to its promise. It has been discriminating and persecuting those minorities. So the issue around CAA is that it is an act to protect those people who are religiously persecuted for having minority faiths in those Islamic State countries. So the idea of a Muslim being part of CAA or being excluded from CAA is just complete nonsense, because they are from a majority faith in a Muslim country. So a minority amendment has nothing to do with them. So it's a completely nonsensical question in the first place. People benefiting from CAA 2019 have experienced the worst of atrocities in their lives, living under Islamic State in Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. They have lived their lives being threatened, of having their daughters abducted and then raped and then either killed or converted, of their brothers being beheaded, of their places of worship, their homes and their businesses being looted and burnt down. And it's for these reasons that their minorities have had to escape. And so they escaped to the only country that they could, the only country in the region that they could, which is India, a country welcome to people of all faiths. Now these people, yes, they were free to live in India, but as illegal immigrants, meaning that they could not access healthcare, they could not access education, employment, they couldn't even access cooking gas to cook food. They had to live in that state, some of these people, for 7 decades. And all this because they come from they have a minority faith and they're coming from Islamic State. And in the case of Hinduism, the religion that I love, all because they believe that all of life, all of nature deserves to be loved, deserves to be respected, be it a homosexual person, be it a person of another faith, be it a tree, be it an animal. Hindus love all of life. Also because they love the divine feminine through Ma Durga, as well as the divine male through Lord Krishna. And also because they choose and they prefer non-violence over violence. So any British person who thinks that these peaceful, these fundamentally liberal, these spiritual people don't deserve to live and don't deserve basic human rights, and at the same time these British people who support an ideology that animals should suffer the most slow, agonizing deaths, that women are inferior to men, and that people who support this ideology, that people who are of different faith, who are homosexual, who are trans, they deserve to die, then that is a very, very misguided British person indeed.